All right, looks like we're going live here. Let's just get things started. Welcome everyone. Welcome to my studio. We're back again with the Nikon Z6, the new mirrorless camera from Nikon. We're going to be doing another studio shoot here. We're going to try a couple more lenses that I got with it, the Z lens series. Just let me get another couple streams going here, and then we'll be ready to go. I'm going to by the way, for those of you who are watching this for the first time, if you go back to my YouTube channel at terrywhite.tv, you'll see the first shoot where I explained a lot about the camera and the lens setup that I'm using. I'll be explaining that again as well, but let me just get this other stream going here, and then we'll be able to dive in. Also, let me bring up your comments so I can see what you guys are saying. That might help. All right, let's bring up that chat. There it is. Okay, great. That way I can see all your lovely comments while we are live. All right. And if I can stop distracting myself, I can actually get this third stream going here. All right. So I'll be live on 3 of my channels. I'll be live here on YouTube, Facebook, at my photography page, and as well as Twitter/Periscope. So let's get the Twitter/Periscope thing going. There I see myself. I hear myself. Let me turn it down. Studio shoot. Just type it in the description real quick. And Krista, come on over. Tell them about you while I'm typing this.
Hello, I'm a model. I've been modeling for about 6, 7, 8 years. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook, Model Krista Lee, MODELCHRISTA, last name Lee, L-E-E. So,
Model Krista Lee at where?
on Instagram.
Or at Model Krista Lee at Instagram.
Yes.
Right? Okay,
yes.
cool. And you were shooting something with Victoria early in the car.
Yes, that's
That looked like a pretty cool shoot. And we'll see what she does with those. And you have on a classic black dress today.
Yes.
That'll be great. And we're going to go with the mirrorless. Okay, now we're live on Facebook. I see us over there. And if I can just type in Z6, we'll go live here as well. All right, we're live everywhere now. So sorry for the delay. Those who started watching earlier on YouTube, we are now live in the studio here for another shoot with the very cool mirrorless camera, new mirrorless camera, one of 2 from Nikon or Nikon, depending on what part of the world you are from. Here in the US, we say Nikon. Everywhere else says Nikon, which is actually, I think, the proper pronunciation. But welcome, everybody. Oh, I see a bunch of people jumping in on YouTube as well. Colleen, Anthony, Cleone, everybody, Jan, David, Rod. Wow, a bunch of people that normally join me during the week are here. And Rod says another lovely model. So thank you. I'm going to say thank you, Rod, for her. All right. And Victoria, I see you over on Facebook. And I see some people jumping in on Twitter as well. Sandra from Orlando. Welcome, everybody. All right. So back to our story. Let me go over a few of the details here about the camera. And then we'll do some test shots. And I'll show you guys what we're shooting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start the tether process from the beginning so you see that as well. But okay, so the camera itself, this is the new Nikon Z6. And right now I have the 24-70 Z series lens on it, which means that this lens is native to this new body. The typical Nikon lenses are F-mount. So if you have an older camera or older DSLR, it will be an F-mount lens. And luckily, they do make a wonderful adapter for this camera. So here's my big old 70-200, one of my favorite lenses, f2.8. And on the very end of it, that little part on the end is the adapter. So that lets me use this older f-mount lens with no compromises on the new mirrorless body. So I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, what's the advantage? I got this question last time. What's the advantage in using a mirrorless camera as opposed to my D850, which is right here? I don't know if I want to pull that out of everything it's in, but here's my Nikon D850. This is the camera I normally use. But people are usually asking, or someone asked that last time, well, why would you use the new mirrorless as opposed to the D850? And I had always planned, even though, and by the way, full disclosure, this particular camera is on loan. I do not own this or the lenses that came with it. Nikon loaned me this for review. So this is part of my review process, doing these live shoots and showing people how the camera works. Now, with that said, why one versus the other? The traditional DSLRs are usually larger and heavier. That's one advantage, and I plan on using this when I do buy one for travel. So I want something lighter, smaller, but still has all the power of my DSLR. So I want to be able to use all my same lenses that I normally travel with, or lenses that I want to use with no compromises, and that great adapter lets me do that. Plus, if I do go with the Z6 or Z7, I'll probably invest in some Z lenses because they're also smaller and lighter. So I don't have to carry the big lenses and still get that same great quality. Now, another question I got last time was, well, why did I want the Z6 over the Z7? Since I plan on using this for travel, and I already have a D850, the D7 is kind of like comparable to the D850, meaning it's another 46 megapixel camera. It's another, $1,000 in cost. And I just don't see the need to duplicate that. I already got a great camera for studio or when it really matters. And the Z6 will be for everything else. So when I'm on location or on the road, the Z6 will be there. All right. So what other lenses do I have? Let me go over and grab a couple. Just had them back here on an Apple box. This is the 50 millimeter prime lens. It's a fast lens at f1.8. So this is a Z series lens. And I hate putting it there. I don't want it to fall. Let's put it precariously over there. And I have the 35 millimeter f1.8. So they basically sent me 3 of the most popular lenses for this camera. I don't typically buy these particular lenses. Like I don't have a 35 millimeter. I used to have a 50 millimeter, but I barely used it because I usually like to have a zoom lens that will cover a range. So 14 to 24, 24 to 70, 70 to 200. See where I'm going with that. So that way I can cover the whole range with zoom lenses. Now this 24 to 70 is awesome because it is an f4 lens. It does, they just came out with, after I got this, they just came out with the f2.8. So when I buy mine, I have to decide if I want to go the extra money and get the f2.8 version of the 24 to 70 or the f4, which is the one I have here. All right, so let's get to the shoot. I'm going to put this other lens here. So I can, actually I'm going to put both lenses here so I can grab them as I need them. I'll walk you guys through the lighting setup in the studio as well. And I've got a few lights set up. I don't have everything turned on for the shoot, but just to walk you through it, if we go here, that's my tethering setup in the Lightroom. Let's go here. So this is a front camera that's kind of looking down on the studio. You can see my kicker box down here on the floor. That I took the strobe out of it because we used it for the car shoot earlier, so I haven't put it back in yet. So we're not going to use that today. We used it last time. And then over on my left, I have a strip bank, and over on my right, I have a strip bank, and then the main light is a 39-inch Octa above me. So I'll give you another view of that. Another view of that. There we go. From the back, so that's Krista. That's behind Krista. So you can kind of see she's on a seamless background. It's just paper. You can buy a roll of paper and buy a stand set up if you don't want to mount it on the wall like I did. All right, so that's the setup. I have on top of the camera, this part doesn't come with the camera. This is the trigger system for my Elechrome strobe. So this is the Elechrome Skyport. This is their newer version. You can control the light from the back of the camera or top of the camera so that you don't have to go around each strobe and control power. So that's the setup. Let's go ahead and why not just use a smartphone with a good camera? I do use a smartphone with a good camera, so that is what I'm doing. But I think you probably meant with a good lens. Because no matter what, even though smartphone lenses, I don't know if you're joking or not, but smartphone sensors are pretty good. It is the lens that becomes the limiting factor. If you ever tried to shoot like at night or shoot something far away with your phone, like the moon, if you tried to get a moon shot with your phone, enough said. You just don't have the right lens to do that shot to get the kind of quality that you would want from shooting the moon. So that's why a good camera as opposed to a smartphone with a good lens. All right. So with that said, I think I answered the questions, at least the ones I saw. Greetings from New York, Tyrone. Mark from Zimbabwe. Welcome, everyone. Palia Ayar is here. I haven't seen you in ages. I posted one of your shots on Instagram the other day. So welcome back. So with that said, we're here in Atlanta. Krista, you ready? You've been waiting long enough. I think you're ready to take some shots. So I'm going to switch over so you guys can kind of see what we're doing here. And let me show you the tethering setup. So I have on the Z6, it's a USB-C connection on the Z6 and Z7. I have a standard like 3-foot cable, and then I have it attached to a 16-foot extension with a repeater in it so I can get some longer range. All right, so with that said, here I am in Lightroom Classic. I'm just going to go up to the File menu, come down to Tether Capture, start Tether Capture. I already have this all set up from before, but the name of the shoot, which we'll put it in a folder by that name, the number of the file that we're going to start with, and any keywords that I would want. But we can just go ahead and click OK. It will detect the camera and then show me that tethering bar at the bottom. And that tethering bar is great because it shows me the current settings, shows you the current settings, so you'll see what we're shooting at. And from there, I'm just going to go ahead and go full screen, which will hide the tether bar. And that way you'll be able to see what I get as I shoot. All right, let's take a test shot. Ready? All right, so I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of see the range I'll get with the 24 millimeter. So that's zoomed out. You can see a lot of the studio that way. You can also see how fast the images come in. That's a credit to A. The Z6 files are a little smaller at 25, 26 megapixels. And of course, the new tethering in Lightroom Classic is extremely fast. All right, so with that said, now let's zoom in a little bit. All right. And Krista's experience. She knows when she hears that beep, that's the light refreshing, and therefore she can change her pose. All right, we got a few great shots there, and I had already dialed in all the lighting, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to go down a little bit lower, and this is something I didn't talk about on the last shoot, is that the other great thing about this camera is the flip out LCD. So I can tilt it up or down. So if I was trying to shoot high and I wanted to see it, or trying to shoot low and I wanted to see it, I'd be able to tilt it up or down and be able to see it either way. So love, love, love the flip out LCD, because I don't always like getting on the floor to get the shot or get the angle that I want. So I love being able to see it before I do it. Now this also is automatic. So for example, if you are not looking at, if you don't put your eye up to the eyepiece, then you'll see the screen. But if you put your eye up to the eyepiece, then you see it through there. You see the computer screen inside the camera. That's another big difference from a DSLR to a mirrorless, is that you're not looking through, we kind of lost something over there on Twitter. Let's see if we can get that back. You're not looking through the lens, you're actually looking at a computer monitor inside the camera. So that takes a little getting used to, especially in a studio setting, because studio settings, you know, you're usually shooting kind of dark, the strobe will light the scene, and so you kind of like don't always see what you get, what you'll get until you actually take the shot. So that takes a little getting used to when you're working with a mirrorless camera. All right, so with that said, I said I would get down low. Now I can just go ahead and hold the camera lower, and let's switch back to you. There we go. I can hold the camera lower. I can still compose the shot. I can still even move my focus point because I'm looking at the back of the LCD. All right, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, another advantage is that I have yet to hit a buffer limit. Like normally when you're shooting tethered, you can fill up the buffer if you take too many shots too fast, and therefore you have to wait a couple seconds for it to write the files before you can shoot again. I haven't had that happen on this camera. It just lets me keep shooting. So I love that. All right, I'm going to go in closer, and then we're going to switch lenses. So I'm going to go all the way out to 70 millimeter. And then we'll go in and switch lenses after that when we get a little closer, so we get a close-up shot. Beautiful. And just moving my focus point. There we go. Always focus on the eyes, or at least I do. I like to keep the eyes nice and focused. I can live with anything else being out of focus, but I can't live with the eyes being out of focus. As she closes her eyes. There we go. All right, going closer. Beautiful. And let's take a couple of horizontal shots. So the other thing someone asked me is, well, does this feel like a kit lens? Because it's one of the ones that you can get bundled with the camera. And the answer is absolutely not. This feels very much like the real deal, just a smaller version of a 24-70. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera off because it's just a good idea to do that before you switch lenses. Then we will grab the next lens. Let's go with the 50 millimeter. And I usually like to get the lens ready before I, before I take the one off the camera body. So that way I'm exposing the camera body to as little dust and air as possible. It's another good idea to hold it down, which I'm not doing right now, because I'm doing everything with one hand. All right. And we'll take the lens cap off. Trying to make sure I don't hit those. We'll turn everything back on. Wait for it to catch up with Lightroom, and it did. And let's try this one more time. Periscope seems to be freezing today for some reason. Okay, so now we're at 50 millimeter. So this is what's called a prime lens. There's no zoom. You're at 50 millimeter no matter what. So if you want to get a tighter shot, you got to walk up closer. You want to get further back, you're going to go further back. All right, so let's go full screen again. Sorry, that one's out of focus. Sorry about that. All right, so that's at 50 millimeter. Those last few should be in focus. I'm going to now walk up, get a tighter shot at 50 millimeter. Tighter. I want to see how close it will actually let me get. And by the way, you should be able to see those. All right, so let's see how close it will let me go and still focus. I can get this close. I can get this close. That's it. I can't go, oh, it let me shoot, but it really, oh, yeah, it's going to let me focus that close. All right. Never get that close to your subject. But unless your subject's a flower or still life or something. But people don't want you invading their space like that, so don't do that. I'm just seeing how close the lens would let me get. But that's another reason why I like to shoot with the 70-200, because I could be farther back and still get a nice tight shot without invading personal space. So be respectful of personal space. All right, last couple. Great. Thank you. And then we're going to switch one more time. This time we'll switch over to the 35mm. All right, so let's go out of full screen. I'm going to turn the camera off, even though I just disconnected it anyway. Cable came out. And now we will go. So I will simply switch to the 35, which again, I normally don't shoot these ranges, at least not on a prime, but I like to experiment. There we go. All right. Connect that cable back up that I disconnected. So I thought it was tied, but it wasn't. There we go. That ought to hold it. Double tied it. All right. Reconnect it. Let's turn everything back on. Camera should reconnect. And it did. And now we're ready to shoot again. This time we're at 35, so it's a much wider angle lens. Again, it's a prime, so you only have a focus ring, not a zoom ring. And let's go ahead and try this. With the lens cap off this time. All right. Here we go. Yeah, see, I can do a full body shot easily with this lens because of the range it gives, or the focal length that it gives me. 35mm, great for that. I love, she's gorgeous. What about me? I'm here.
Thank you.
Don't I count? No, I'm kidding. She is gorgeous. Don't I count? All right. I don't see any more questions. You guys lost audio? Oh no. Okay, Victoria says you didn't lose audio, so she can hear it. All right. So let's do a couple more, and then I'm gonna let Krista go. She's got, I think, a game to get to, a soccer game or something. Are you playing or watching?
Watching.
She's watching. Okay. I like how she was able to talk without breaking a smile. That was great. All right. We're good to go. Thank you. All right. Thank you. All right. So I'll answer a few more questions. Krista's out. She's got somewhere to be. But so far, I am actually loving shooting with this camera. I never thought I would actually use it for studio work as much as I would for travel, but I'm loving it for studio work as well. So there's really not a limitation other than if you want to use an older lens, you have to use the adapter. That's it. So with that said, hang on, let's see here. All right, I think we're good now. So with that said, I am more than happy with the setup so far. Like I said, this is on loan from Nikon. I will more than likely be purchasing this after the end of the loan period. Thanks, Evil Cherie says I'm gorgeous too. Thank you. That was fishing for a compliment, but you didn't have to give it. Anyway, how's the focus? Alexa thought I was talking to her. How's the focus? So far, the focus is good. It takes a little getting used to. It's not quite the same as a DSLR. So I find myself moving the focus point more often, if that makes sense. I don't know that it does. You just have to do it to see what I mean. but I haven't really lost shots because of the focus. Now, I haven't shot a lot of action yet either, so we'll see once I go outside, maybe shoot the dog running back and forth and see if I can get some action shots and see how the focus is then. But so far, I am happy with I don't have a problem with focus. Focus is good. Again, I just have to be careful. Now, I will say this. The one thing I like about the focus is that typically on a DSLR, you know how when you're moving the square around or the rectangle around, you're still locked into like a focus area. Like you can't go all the way to the edge of the lens. So you usually end up moving the lens, grabbing the focus point, then moving back while you keep the trigger held down halfway. Shutter release held down halfway. So this, I find that the mirrorless can go further to the edge. It can't go all the way to all four corners, all the way to the edge, but it certainly goes a lot further than my DSLR does. So that's another advantage of the mirrorless. So another question. Are there advantages for action focus photos? I would say the advantage is the larger or non-existent buffer. So you can capture more frames per second and get more frames before you have to wait for it to write to the card. The other thing, speaking of cards, is that this one, unfortunately, depends on your point of view, only has one card slot, which again, that doesn't bother me. It bothers me that the one card slot is XQD. So that's a specific kind of card. Here, I'm going to turn it off so I can get the card out of it. I think there's a card in there. Yeah, there's. Or nope, I already took the card out. So there's an XQD card laying around here somewhere. And that XQD card is just not as standard, meaning it is a standard, it has been around for years. I had one in my D4, but it's not as prevalent, is a better way to say it, as like SD cards are. SD cards are everywhere. You can buy them at the CVS or Walgreens. You can buy a SD card anywhere you want. XQD cards are not only less prevalent, but they're also way more expensive. So a 32 or 64 gig XQD card can easily cost 4 or 5 times what a comparable SD card can cost. Now, what's the advantage? Why would you have this card format that costs so much more and is not as popular? It's extremely fast. So if you are a sports shooter, if you are an action shooter, you're going to get way more shots faster on an XQD than you are with SD or compact flash even. So that's the advantage. That's why companies go with it, is because it is so much faster. Bye, Krista. Krista's walking out. So that's the plus and minus of the XQD. Why is the background not white? Because it's probably not lit bright enough. So for example, if we go back here, I'm going to cancel out the tethering. If we go back to that, it's also a white balance issue. So for example, if I go to the white balance, that's should be a pretty easy fix. We go here, we click, now the background is white. We can also adjust the shadows and kind of bring out that background some more. You can also adjust the whites and make it even whiter. So that's just a white balance setting. We shot in RAW, so easy enough to fix because the white balance is not baked into the shot. All right, I think that is it for today's stream. I want to thank you guys for joining me. Yeah, compact flash express is supposed to write 1600 megabits per second. It's going to be amazing. So what's the setting you're using? I showed that earlier in the stream. I'm shooting at I think it's f6.1, or I'm sorry, f6.3, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100. That's pretty much raw. That's pretty much it. Auto white balance, so that's why the white balance wasn't set properly on the shot you saw. As a matter of fact, and also even if you look at my background on this webcam, you can see the background doesn't look totally white. It's a matter of lighting. So if we turn on the lights, the background will get whiter. All right. Yes, on macOS as well for the tethering. What was I shooting before? I'm still shooting the Nikon D850. So It's not what I'm shooting before. It's what the D850 is my camera. This is a loaner. So I haven't switched over and probably won't switch. I'll add the Z6. All right. Have you found any limitations with the new Nikon mirrorless cameras? I've not found any limitations. Does the autofocus still work with the older lenses? Absolutely. I wouldn't even want to test this camera if I couldn't autofocus with it. So for example, even though I don't have a model, here we'll take this lens off. This is a Z mount lens, and we'll put it over here for safekeeping. And we'll put my, I don't know, my 4-year-old, 4 or 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 70-200 VR2 lens on with the adapter. So that's the adapters right here, this piece in the middle. Older lens, new Nikon Z6. So let's go ahead and turn tethering back on. Take the lens cap off. Take the lens cap off. It flew off. And let's turn the tethering back on. And I'll show you that yes, it does not only work, but of course it autofocuses. And that was the one thing I am proud of to say, even though I work for Nikon, I don't get paid by Nikon, but one thing I'm proud to say is that they did the right thing with the adapter, because people make an investment in lenses. The last thing, it's like looking for this menu option. The last thing that people want to do is have to start all over with your lenses. So by making this adapter really work well with your existing lenses, at least your Nikkor lenses, they solved that issue. All right, so let's go back to this. Again, I don't have a model, but I am on the 70-200 with the Z mount to F mount lens adapter on the Z6, and I'll just focus on the light or something. But there we go. So I just focused on the softbox, and there we are. So you can see the focus come in, and I'm shooting this one at f6.3, so we even get some nice shallow depth of field outside of that window that's over there as well. So again, works great with my existing lenses. Otherwise, it would be a non-starter. Like I wouldn't want this camera if it couldn't work with my existing lenses. Have I tried any third-party lenses like Sigma or Tamron? That's where the issue comes in. So not all third-party lenses will work with this adapter, but there are other adapters. So if you are, I don't have any, I only have one third-party lens. I think it's a Sigma 105 millimeter. I haven't even started to try that with this camera, but I already know that third-party lenses may not work with the Nikon adapter. So there are other adapters by other companies, and if you have a third-party lens that you care about, I would first check to make sure that there's an adapter that will work with your third-party lens. All right. My whole feed is yellow. I shouldn't have night mode on this computer, on either one. Doesn't look like it to me, but I could be wrong. All right, I'll check that. No, you know why? No, I don't have that, at least on the other computer, because the other computer doesn't have Mojave, so it can't have night shift. All right, but I'll check that out. Thanks for the heads up. It could be on my main system that has Mojave on it. I doubt it, but you know, stranger things have happened. Dun, 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 dun. All right, I'll look. But thanks for that heads up. I'll look to make sure that's not on next time. All right. So with that said, so the big lens won't rip off. Well, it's no different than any other camera. So when you have a big lens, like a 100 to 600 millimeter or even bigger, you mount the lens, not the body. So the body has a tripod mount, the adapter has a tripod mount, but if I were going to mount this on a tripod so that it doesn't rip off, I'd mount the lens. The lens is the heavy part of this configuration right now. So if you're worried about that, that's why it comes with its own mount to mount, so that the weight is not on the body itself. And usually when you're holding it, you're going to hold the lens as well. You're not going to just hold the body. All right. That is it for my time. I want to thank you guys for watching, and thanks for hanging in there, and sorry for the audio or video delays on Twitter/Periscope that I saw earlier. And if you missed this, I think it's all on YouTube. So you guys can go check it out at terrywhite.tv or my Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/terrywhitephotography, or my Twitter, which is at Terry L. White, which is actually down there. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. All right. And there's my portfolio site over there. All right. So with that said, cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.